Hi everybody. It's on Facebook 10 minutes ago, and saw Sam Harris post something about a dishonest post from the Majority Report with Sam Sater. And friends of Sam's Bulldog will know that I took them down a couple of months ago. They were one of my first targets for their astonishing dishonesty and lying to their listeners. And you can see those videos for the rest of our universe. And if it keeps expanding, this video will be around forever. And so, of course, I jumped on YouTube and Majority Report Sam Harris, and who do I see but Michael Brooks, dishonest, misinformed, lie to liberals Michael Brooks, who can be funny, as I've already indicated. If he gives this up and goes to comedy, go ahead. Okay. Your career is over, my man. I mean, for sure now. I just read the content of what you wrote, and I would be worried if I were you about legal action. And remember that Majid Nawaz is crowdfunding a fund to hopefully destroy the Southern Poverty Law Center, have them either recant and apologize in writing, etc., or suffer the libel and slander suits. So you certainly do not deserve a platform. There's free speech, thank goodness, in certain parts of this world, but free speech does not entitle you to lie 100 times in a row, probably. I haven't listened to it yet. I think this is new. I don't know how this got under my radar. I must have just thought it was old content, because these guys periodically, trot it. Well, they mention him all the time, but they trot him out for a nice 15, 20-minute takedown. I mean, I bet somebody finds out every one of his views, and then flips it and insults him for having the opposite view. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to hear here, but based on what's lighting up Twitter right now and the comment stream on this video, which I'll attach, this guy, how dare he? I mean, Sam Harris is alive, dude. He's a person. And you're fucking lying about him. I mean, insulting his parents and that they paid for Stanford and all that. What? So what, he's not a real liberal? He's not allowed to be in your club? Your tolerant club of identity politics? Dude, what do you think you're doing? You sound like a minister of propaganda. Okay? Literally. Do you realize that? Do you realize that? To try to get attention, you are spreading lies like the worst people who ever lived. I don't see a difference. So let's listen to this. I'll be commenting, of course.
Sam Harris, who I haven't dealt with for a long time, but I've always seen this kind of soft alt-right nerdism and this ahistorical, and also look, I know a million people I already know what you're going to say. I'm taking them out of context, and Islam is not a race, it's bad ideas, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, when you support things like a Muslim ban,
when you support things like a Muslim ban, I won't bother to footnote the endless times in voice and in writing Sam Harris has supported the Muslim ban. Wrote a book with Majid Nawaz, a believer, you effing jackass, saying that Muslims are, quote, the most unfortunate people in the world, unquote. and are, if we can help them, compassion is the right reason, and we need to help the moderates most of all because they're going to be the most helpful in solving the challenges of our world when people hold on to their irrational, foundationless religious beliefs.
It is highly racialized, and it's highly geographic. Islam is not really about ideas. Religion is everything from customs, culture, philosophy, to politics, to social norms, many of which are really problematic and terrible in all religions, okay? It's not terribly complicated.
The classic move. Oh, say right up front, wow, there's a ton of stuff that's terrible. I mean, we don't have to talk about that. God forbid. We all know. And by the way, Sam Harris, who occasionally wears a gun and a bulletproof vest and has fucking bodyguards, Michael Brooks, to speak honestly about it. And by the way, even if he was fucking wrong about everything, he still has a right to say it, you piece of shit. And you're still lying about his views. Criticize his actual views. You are raising the danger for his fucking children, dude. It's not cool, okay? I mean, I'm just like anybody else, okay? I got a young child about one of his children's ages, and dude, guns are being pointed in his direction more because of you, okay? Because of you. You're a fucking liar. I'm serious, man. This is bad. This is bad. This is gonna stop, dude. Okay? By whatever legal, ethical means, I'm going to stop you. Okay? Or I'm going to try. With ideas and combating your lies and proving to the world that we like liars less than you think we do.
But what Sam Harris is saying here, with the nodding acquiescence of Majid Nawaz, who really just comes off looking just pathetic and embarrassing here, is an endorsement of Donald Trump policies in a cult leader, boring voice.
So when I opened, I was like, look, you're worried about losing your dad's house.
He denigrates. I mean, so now you can't write a book with a believing Muslim. You're more of Michael Brooks. That makes you more of a scumbag. Writing a book with a former Islamist whose life is in danger day and night, and you're not helping. Okay? You're not helping. Gotta be. I mean, I don't even need to address every lie. It's so absurd.
And really grotesque and disturbing generalizations that affect real people.
Name one. Grotesque generalizations. What the fuck are you talking about? He only talks about the doctrine of Islam or specific humans that he names. I have listened to everything he has said and everything he has written, just about. Okay? I can't catch this guy being inconsistent, and I've been watching intellectuals for 35 fucking years, dude. He's not perfect, but he's out there doing his thing, and you're lying about him, and he's got bodyguards. Who the fuck do you think you are, dude? You think this is a game? This is fucking Showtime. This is Islam, dude. This is London. Everywhere is London, okay? And you're doing your part to throw more bullshit at everything. Fuck you, dude. You're going down, man. I'm not letting go. I've been taking down Jordan Peterson because he's a dishonest preacher who claims to know science. But this may be more pressing than getting rid of that guy. Or, exposing him for the fraud that he is. I mean, you guys gotta go. And you're going to.
And I would suggest you look up some actual real stories before you comment on it and whine about him being taken out of context.
What is the fucking point of having more Muslims in your society? It seems perfectly rational to say, we don't want any more. We have enough, right? And certainly increasing the percentage is not a help to anyone who loves freedom of speech and anything else, that any of the other liberal values that you and I just spoke about maximizing. It's not worth the trouble, and if we can figure out some way to keep the number of Muslims down in any society, whether we're honest about this or whether we do this covertly, clearly it's rational to want to do this. And this is where someone like Robert Spencer would say amen, I would presume. Can you speak to that despair? And I mean, again, this is not an expression of xenophobia. This is an expression of the implication of statistics and the fact that it's only rational not to want to live in a world that looks more and more like Jerusalem at the height of the Intifada, right?
Right. That's delusional.
Everybody listening to this that cares already knows that Sam was speaking to Majid Nawaz, a former Islamist jailed for his activities, his non-violent but Sharia law spreading ideas. He was jailed for years in Egypt. He suffered physical harm and discrimination on the streets of London as a Muslim. He is a believing Muslim still. And as I said already, his life is in danger every goddamn moment. And Sam has described him as one of the most ethical, moral, and coolest motherfuckers around. And he was posing a theoretical based on statistics and was identifying a demographic that's scared. And you made it sound like it was his ideas. Okay, that's what philosophers do. I'm going to presume you didn't know that, Michael Brooks. That philosophers analogize to tease out principles, bedrock principles of ethics and morality. You are a fucking piece of shit. I have never been so angry. How dare you? How dare you, dude? You better hope that nothing happens to him, okay? You better hope, because these fans that you love to insult us, okay? I mean, fine. You love to insult us. Who cares? We're a cult. We're a cult. He's a good science writer, dude. He's a good science writer. So go fuck yourself. Stop endangering the lives of other people with lies, okay? I'm not going to lie about you, okay? I have no reason to. You're a piece of shit, and your own words demonstrate that. And I don't understand why you haven't been taken off.
You know what I mean? And his exact sentence to that was...
On many levels, but let's break it down. Okay. I would suggest that the way to preserve quote-unquote liberal values is by protecting, as an example, robust constitutional norms while they're under assault. That might be something that's significant. So I would suggest, while you have a far-right extremist, which you yourself have endlessly pointed out, according to your followers, you oppose, is trying to push, and might, with a far-right Supreme Court, a unconstitutional violation of non-religious discrimination, which is written into, our Constitution, which might be slightly more important than your thought experiments. I would suggest
the Constitution is more important than Sam Harris's thought experiments. Well, that's progress of a kind, because he at least described
Do you really think I'm stupid?
thought experiments, so he maybe does know what that is. Dude, the Constitution is the most important document in the world, in the history of the world. It's the only secular one in the world, and it's the longest freestanding constitution in the history of the world. So your attempt at snark, I mean, what the fuck are you doing? What are you getting out of this?
That preserving those protections is slightly more important for this great liberal society which you seem to care so much about. It seems to me that the only outgrowth of the liberal society that you're interested in is in endless, boring, bigoted wankathons with your friends. Go ahead.
Harris is super concerned about protecting our liberal values like free speech and such. But once again, one of these people who is standing up for these liberal values, Majid Nawaz, is talking about how he's going to take people to court for defamation. And I don't think enriching libel lawyers is really the best way to strengthen free speech, as far as I'm concerned.
That's his argument. Oh, there's no limits on free speech. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Majid Nawaz is wrong for responding to being called an Islam. I mean, his life isn't in danger enough. What do you think he's doing it for? For kicks? For fucking bullshit? For Twitter followers? Dude, you guys are intellectually in danger, okay? You are in danger of disappearing off of social media, okay? This is not free speech. I mean, how easy is this?
That's exactly what we'll get to. Look, first I'll throw a few statistics out that will make no difference to Harris followers. But according to an FBI report, and this, granted, this is from 1980 to 2005, but it hasn't changed significantly since then, 94% of terrorist acts carried in the United States were by non-Muslims. Non-Muslims make up a majority of terrorist attacks in Europe. Actually wrong. They make up about 2%. And even if, and I'll quote now from this piece in Huffington Post, even if Muslims carried out all these attacks, which is a absurd assumption given the fact mentioned in my first point, those terrorists would still represent less than 0.9% of all Muslims. To put things in perspective, that you're more than likely to be struck by lightning in your lifetime than a Muslim is likely to commit a terrorist attack during the same time span. And
I don't even need to respond. Do I need to respond to that? That absurdity. I mean, do you think people are idiots? Do you not? Either you don't see the mistakes you just made. I don't know. I can't gauge how smart you are, I have to say. I think you're just a troll and a scumbag. I mean, everything you just said was the most self-serving, misleading absurdity. It's 0.00001% of Muslim. Yeah, but all jihadis are Muslim. You fucking douchebag. And why? Isn't one too many? Isn't one suicide? Isn't one guy who stabs a lady on a bridge in London, yelling Allahu Akbar several times? That isn't enough? That's enough for me.
if so many Muslims don't engage in the activity, then, I mean, this is the other point. If all Muslims are terrorists, because a single-digit percentage of terrorists happen to be Muslims, then all Muslims are peacekeepers, because 5 of the past 12 Nobel Peace Prize winners, 42%, have been Muslims. And it goes on and on and on with all these statistics, which, again, is irrelevant to people like Sam Harris.
The statistics are irrelevant to Sam Harris. The guy does nothing but talk statistics. If you're not into statistics, you're listening to the wrong guy. He tries to base his views and his questions on his interviews, his podcasts, his discussions, his debates. He does nothing but quote evidence. He rejects non-evidence. You fucking lying piece of shit.
Because they're bigots. And Sam Harris always talks about Muslims, quote-unquote, hiding the ball.
Name one bigoted phrase or writing ever anywhere by Sam Harris or any other of the fucking new atheists you love to jerk off over. You piece of shit. Find them for me. I'll publicize them if it's true. And I'll admit it.
When is Sam Harris going to stop hiding the ball? If you hate a religion and have an irrational fixation and fear on it, where you can't talk...
Oh, it's irrational to fear Islam. Now, I've read the books. Been reading the paper for about 35, 40 years. Nothing irrational about it, dude. I mean, I could make it more personal and say I ran home from the September 11th attacks and was in the city when it happened. You piece of shit.
Anybody with any credibility in the field that you claim to be working in make. And you sound like a deranged conspiracy theorist and a bigot, and you're...
Actually, when Sam talks about conspiracy theories, he's fascinating because he always puts them to bed for Joe Rogan, who's enamored of these things and thankfully weaning himself off of these ridiculous ideas. You're a piece of shit, dude. I'm telling you, man. Your days are numbered. Your days are numbered. There's got to be a legal, ethical way to rid the world of your lying voice.
Giving a shout out to Richard Spencer. When are you going to stop hiding the ball and admit that disproportionately those people come from certain parts of the world and you're fine with discriminating against them and you don't want them by you?
A shout out. I don't even know who that guy is. I've heard his name. I know he's been mentioned. I'm guessing in the context that Sam said it. He doesn't align with his views, you piece of shit. And I don't even know who this guy is. You are a liar. You are a liar.
And then as for Majid Nawaz, look, his whole brand is he's a moderate Muslim whose work can be harmonized with a liberal society. Every time he collaborates with Sam Harris is saying the possibility of that basically doesn't exist. Because the only real Islam is terrorist-supporting fanaticism, which, as we've already said a million times, if you know anything about Islam, is a product of modern history and foreign policy. Literally. Not just like a byproduct of U.S. misdeeds, but like literally a geostrategy of Saudi Arabia, a strategy of Iran in a different way, a strategy of Qatar in a different way.
Right. Do I even bother? Do I even bother?
So Majid Nawaz's whole reason d'etre, which is to say there is an Islam that can work with the rest, is entirely undermined by constantly sharing platforms with a bigoted pseudo-expert who constantly says that the only real Muslims are fanatics.
The only real Muslims are fanatics. Why don't you go look at the Batman video from the Bill Maher show, where he tries to explain to that movie star the concentric circle idea. You fucking liar.
It's disgusting. Look, I'm sure I'll hear the same thing from all of you and your broken records and you're in a cult, but honestly...
Bet he can't define cult. It's actually an good open question. He certainly couldn't answer me. What's a cult, you fucking idiot?
And I really mean this sincerely. Read Ghost Wars. Read Robert Malley. Even read a book like Heart of Islam. It's a basic primer on Islam. I mean, just do something. Get out of the basement of Sam.
Watch suicide videos. Watch suicide videos. Watch, go to Live Leak and watch ISIS. Read Dabiq. Read Dabiq. How many times have you read Dabiq? I've read it. It's difficult. The pictures are really difficult. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Harrisism. It's embarrassing.
Also, most victims of terrorism worldwide are Muslim.
Well, of course.
But this is just...
I thought there weren't. It was only 0.1 of the attacks. What are you talking about? It's nothing. Okay.
Not the way that this narrative is presented in any context. I mean, when I say most, I read a statistic that said 90% in an article, and I looked further into it, and they don't of course know exactly, but it's experts estimate that it's somewhere around there. It could be down to maybe 85, or it could be to 95. So it's really an insane overreaction to have so much talk about how this is affecting non-Muslim people.
Yeah, but they would
You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. 95% of people were killed are Muslim, so why are we worried about it? What's the deal with the overreaction? I mean, do you want me to turn that into the identity politics that you people swear by? What the fuck are you talking about? London is frozen in a certain way. Belgium, the whole country is frozen in a certain way. Paris is frozen in a certain way. You fucking idiots.
The implication would be that those Muslims deserve it because they're Muslims.
And
I've heard them say that. I mean, I've even heard Bill Maher. Bill Maher said on a show once, "Why are we interfering with Syria? They're all killing each other."
It was with Bill Maher, who Nawaz said he's going to take the Southern Poverty Law Center to court.
It's just, it's
pathetic. Okay, Bill Maher and Islam, do we even really need to discuss it any further? Because I can't.
As long as people take this garbage seriously, I guess unfortunately we do. But I mean, obviously you're right. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, he's an atheist who's against killing for religion. And he's against Sharia. And if you're not, I want your next podcast for you to disclose that you're against equal rights for women, equal rights for gays. Are Jews allowed to be alive? Well, that's a good start. Sex slaves. Just what exactly are you for? You need to disclose that.
Just again, and I would just say to everybody, Sam Harris always talks about stop hiding the ball, but the problem is that the fanatics don't hide the ball because they're supporting fanatic fatwas, and the people in London who just said that they won't bury terrorists in Islamic burials anymore, they're not hiding the ball. They're saying it doesn't represent Islam. Why don't you say what you are? You're a
Killing in defense of the faith, yelling Allah Akbar, is not Islam. Sounds like you need to do some reading. Some actual reading. And you can watch the videos of the people being beheaded, people being burned in cages, children being buried alive, people being crucified. All in the Hadiths, the biography of Muhammad, or the Quran.
a trust fund baby pseudoscientist.
He's a trust fund baby pseudoscientist. I don't even know how to respond to that. I guess I shouldn't bother. First of all, he's not a pseudoscientist. You could call him a bad scientist. You could call him a scientist who doesn't work enough, a scientist who doesn't know how to write, a scientist who hasn't published enough, a scientist da-da-da. But he's not a pseudoscientist. Okay? And you know that, you fucking idiot.
Neoconservative.
Neoconservative. The guy who was against the Iraq War, on the record. Dude. And talked endlessly about Wolfowitz, etc., and that it's astonishing to him that anybody could still defend the idea that we can prop up democracies in former Islamist regimes. You got to be kidding me, dude. It's over.
hates Muslims, doesn't like Trump, I know, and you don't care who a Muslim ban affects, and you don't care how it affects the constitutional viability of this country. Because you have an irrational fixation on these people. And I would look up, there's a great...
getting him out of there. Do you know he's getting girls out of, I think it's Pakistan, I could be wrong. He doesn't advertise it much, I've discussed this in the past. He's working to save lives, you piece of shit, and putting his life in danger. What do you have to protect? No, you don't have a career. You don't have a reputation. I mean, just look at the thumbs up, thumbs down, which nobody even uses on fucking YouTube. And it's 5,000 to 600. 5,000 thumbs down, of course. You know why? You're a lying piece of shit, and everybody knows it. And those kind of people aren't useful for long. And you're one of them.
A blog post, which I'll tweet out, but I think it was on his own, all about how Sam Harris got this supposed PhD in neuroscience and how shoddy the research was that's constantly being cited to me. I mean, just be serious. Exactly. PhDs have intrinsic value. In fact,
his PhD does not seem as
You've got true Gorka.
incredible
read it up on it.
As Gorka.
Yes, he's not as dumb. Well, actually, Gorka knows more about politics than Sam Harris. He definitely does.
Well, no, I'm saying, but Gorka's PhD is completely, and I'm saying maybe I should say uncredible. I mean, it's ridiculous. But Harris's seems less so. That doesn't mean that he knows what he's talking about.
Well, I'm going to read now from this post really quickly. Two interesting parts arise from the tip.
Was that supposed to mean? Well, his PhD isn't real. His PhD isn't real. Like his views on Islam have to do with fucking neuroscience. I mean, again, how stupid do you think people are? You're going down, man. You're going down. Doesn't matter who says the ideas. It's the ideas. Fucking calling him a bigot. And you call him a silver spoon this, and I mean, identity politics, denigrating his education, which has nothing to do with his views on Islam, which are informed, by the way, which you're welcome to disagree with, but you're not disagreeing. You've lied about his record every fucking time.
Tales of Sam Harris's PhD thesis. This is his own blog spot. First, where do you get the money? MRI machines are an expensive piece of research, and they're often rented for short periods of time at great expense. But now you should be able to guess the answer. This is in the middle of the piece. Sam naturally had it covered through his personal wealth and connections. Right around this time he was beginning his thesis, Harris founded the quote-unquote Reason Project, a charitable foundation devoted to spreading scientific knowledge and secular values in society. The Reason Project was apparently feeling particularly charitable about Sam, and it provided funds for his PhD, including the use of facilities and MRI machine. Once again, Mum to the rescue. The second problem was potentially more difficult. Sam had no history in neuroscience and had never conducted an experiment in his life. It's hard to imagine UCLA neuroscience department accepting his PhD proposal until you remember that by this stage,
and what does this
Sam
have to
was
do
by
with
this
Islam?
stage highly connected, filthy rich, and becoming famous.
And what does
He
this
was
have to
given
do
the
with
red carpet
Islam?
treatment by UCLA. Sam got to pretend to do science, while the professionals
What does this
got
have to do with the
work.
problems of
The
Islam?
various research jobs were passed to his co-authors. Conducting the experiments, recruiting participants,
Take it
and
up with
designing the
UCLA,
entire
dude.
study were taken off Little Lord Fauntleroy's hands. Ultimately, Sam's sole responsibility was a final write-up, which is less the account of a scientific experiment and more a screed about his personal reviews on religion and narcissistic flexing of his intellectual cred. From the introduction, while there may be many Catholics
this isn't a hit
who
piece.
value the ritual of Mass without believing the doctrine of transubstantiation, the primacy of Mass within the Church still...
What does this have to do with our world today? Friends, ask yourselves, what is this? What was the purpose of this video? What information was being transmitted? a series of lies, not even half-truths, bold-face fucking lies, and now it's a hit piece about his PhD thesis. I mean, if it was a piece of shit, I'll read that article. It's fine. Doesn't make his views on Islam any more or less accurate. Are you afraid of Islam? Would you go to Pakistan today? You and Sam Seder, arm in arm?
Hinges on the fact that many Catholics do accept it as a metaphysical truth that can be directly attributed to specific doctrinal claims still put forward by the Church. First of all, that's not what metaphysical means, that's right. And secondly, what does this have to do with a behavioral MRI study? Indeed, this is back to Harris, humanity seems to be proportionally more religious as a combination of material advancement, and secularism is strongly correlated with a decrease in fertility. When one considered the rise of Islamism through the Muslim world, the spread of Pentecostalism throughout Africa, and the I can't read this last part because of the print, I apologize, becomes clear that religion will have geopolitical consequences well into the 21st century. Again, is this neuroscience or Sam's new blog post? Then he goes on to explain how these MRI things that were basically supposed to measure rationality and decision making were, I won't go completely down the rabbit hole, but the point is that even the notion of extending the respect of he has a PhD in neuroscience, I'm not doing anymore. Don't quote this guy.
Oh my God. Sam, some guy named Michael Brooks won't acknowledge your PhD anymore because that's all you talk about. Your Reza Aslan. You mentioned what did he say? I am an expert. I mean, dude, you cite a hit piece and then you say you can't read it and then you say, I'm not going to bother with your little highlighter of, what if I grant that all to you? Every Sam Harris fan grants everything you said about his master's thesis. What are you going to do about Islam?
He's running a pseudo-intellectual cult fueled on bigotry, and it's disgusting. And every second that we're not talking about it...
A pseudo-intellectual cult based on bigotry. He calls him a silver... He basically says because he was a rich kid from Southern California, he's got to be a fucking stoner asshole douchebag whose mother rescued him with her money. Okay? So don't listen to his clear thinking about problems in our world. You fucking...
We're not discussing real things that involve these issues that are actually quite important.
Hi folks, Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page.
There's that piece of shit, Sam Seder. You can check out one of my videos where I end his credibility in 9 minutes. No reason to ever listen to him ever again, or obviously this whole show. Unless they start apologizing a lot. This is a disgrace, and I am summoning a lot of frustration. And maybe Majid's idea to crowdfund attorneys is a good idea here. These guys can't have much money. They cannot have much money to want to spend on attorneys when they've lied publicly, and you can just footnote every page or every podcast and not find anything that they said.
It's 11 o'clock.
It's 11 o'clock. So it's July 8th, 11 p.m. Stay tuned, guys. We're just getting started again. Sam's Bulldog is back, and Sam's Bulldog is going to turn the screws down and love every minute of it. Help me, please. Let's get rid of these guys once and for all.
YouTube ads have come back.